many years. To all my friends, this is Don't Upset the Choir, okay? One of the most unbelievable experiences was during a visit to a church deep in the border country of Monmouthshire in Wales just a few years ago. It was a very old and very big church, lighted by gas lamps which were switched on by electricity. It probably exploded. And as soon as I noticed this, I thought, this is no ordinary setup, and it wasn't. Having been invited to join the choir for my one Sunday stay in the town, I arrived good and early for matins. The entrance to the vestry involved one little step up, followed immediately by another little step down. This was a special device designed to hurtle the unwary visitor headfirst into the place, thereby affording armless amusement for the choir boys who waited for it to happen. But there were no choir boys in the vestry just then. Two men sat on a form under a clock with no hands. A clock with no hands. One was the local undertaker, who was a very jolly person. Rising, he shook my hand, said he was a bass, and seemed to be measuring me up with a professional eye. The other man, Jim, whom I can only call the Ancient One, didn't attempt to raise himself or even his eyes, but grated at me, tenor bass. When I replied that I was an alto, he looked either shocked or disgusted, but I couldn't quite make out which. His face was almost hidden in a copy of the News of the World, the Sunday newspaper. Just then, a large woman of uncertain age lightly negotiated the trick steps. She was a contralto, I learned. It's funny, isn't it? How so many contraltos are large women of uncertain age. I'm making no comments on that. She was very businesslike and asked me what I was. Presuming she referred to my voice, I said alto, whereupon she, like the Ancient One, appeared neither shocked or disgusted, but took no further notice of me. It was now fully 10:35, and as the service was supposed to start at 10:30, the choir began to arrive. That's typical, isn't it? Everybody soon managed to find his or her robes on someone else's peg or on the floor. And all 20 of us were ready in a big huddle at the chancel door when the vicar ambled in to start proceedings. Suddenly, a large gurgling noise filled the vestry, and an attractive soprano, noticing the consternation on my face, explained, "Oh, it's only the water, it blows the organ." She was right, no doubt, but it sounded to me more like blowing a hurricane. Anyway, the organist played so loudly as we processed in that all other sounds were lost. So that was all right. When we had subsided and were safely installed in the chancel, the undertaker, who had started to suck a peppermint, slid a pile of books along the stall to me to read. There was a veteran English hymnal, an A&M with no cover, an old cathedral psalter which fully lived up to its name, and an early copy of Schoolgirl's Own, a very popular comic. The vicar announced the first hymn, "Through the night of doubt and sorrow." The organist broke forth joyously at breakneck speed before anyone had found the place. A splendidly unconventional character was the organist. Apparently, he had nothing whatever to do with the choir and worked quite independently. You know the feeling. Either they had upset him a long time ago and he had given them up as a bad job, or he had just grown forgetful and forgot they were there. I was told later that only the oldest members even remembered what he looked like. Thought he hadn't peeped round the curtain of the organ loft for many years. Oh, she's typical, isn't it? We all finished the hymn round about the same time. And things went quite smoothly until we reached the Benedictus. Then I became completely fogged. The undertaking bass kindly pointed out the chant to me, and the organist kindly played a different one. In the manner of basses, the undertaker bawled on regardlessly, and the attractive soprano I didn't write this. And the attractive soprano, who knew more about blowing organs than water, turned round and said that the organist did sometimes change the chants as he went along. And this and that, the one he was now playing wasn't even in the book. I thanked her very much and had quite an enjoyable time making up my own harmony. And everyone else did the same. But it couldn't have been anything like the harmony which the contralto was making up, because she glared across the chancel at me and tried to bawl even louder than the undertaker her harmony, and this was a wild impossibility. By this time the choir boys had settled down to their own devices, kneeling devoutly and reading comics under the bookrests. The rest of us were still quite keen, but there seemed to be a little misunderstanding about the responses. The invisible genius in the organist or the organ loft apparently decided that, contrary to custom, they should be sung unaccompanied. They should be sung unaccompanied. This manoeuvre did catch everyone on the wrong foot. And so the first three responses were unaccompanied and unsung. I'll repeat that again. The first three responses were both unaccompanied and unsung. But we rallied splendidly in singing of the next hymn, which was something deep and obscure from the English hymnal, and went to a tune on a separate manuscript which someone had forgot to give out. Undaunted, some tenors opposite me rendered the whole thing in high unison, so heartily we all joined in, even the boys. The acoustics of the church must have been a trifle defective, because from the choir stalls it was quite impossible to hear what the vicar was saying in the sermon. And it wasn't the fault of any noise in the choir, because all the boys and even some of the women were very quiet, reading their comics, and most of the men had settled down for a short nap. I couldn't get interested in my copy of Schoolgirl's Own, and found a fascination in surreptitiously watching the congregation, who apparently couldn't hear the sermon either. They were all awake, and I think some were finding the next hymn, which of course they had no intention of singing. The others looked grateful for a sit down and quite happy. We finished strongly with glorious things of thee are spoken, and the organist was so carried away by Haydn's famous tune that he played an extra verse. We all acted quickly, however, and sang the last verse over again. All except the attractive soprano, and she sang the first verse over again. We processed out in a very attractive shambles, the boys and women neck and neck in front, and the bass undertaker bringing up the rear in the most professional manner. There it was. The town outside was completely dead at this hour, so most of the adult members made their way to the Conservative Club for a drink. The boys started a fight in the graveyard, and as I left, the Ancient One, still clutching News of the World, told me aggressively that you'd have to go a long way, man, to meet up with another choir like theirs. And I agreed. Thank you, everyone. I enjoyed that.